So, Norita, before we look ahead to the upcoming Truckers for Troops fundraising event, I want to look back, if we could, to last year's event because the fruits of that event were recently distributed at the Veterans Community Project in Longmont, Colorado. You were there. This is part of the Truckers for Troops all-encompassing kind of scope now, right? And this is part of delivering what you get from the Truckers for Troops.
So, for listeners that may need to get caught up on who and what is Veterans Community Project, that is an organization that we have worked with in distributing funds and other donations for several years. Veterans Community Project is an organization that is headquartered in Kansas City but is branching out to other locations nationally. And like you said, we did pay a visit to one of their locations in Longmont, Colorado, and that was a really, really interesting trip. And we always enjoy bringing things that they need for the services that they provide.
Yeah, a lot to unpack here because I think we
Yeah.
should probably explain what some of these things are that we're talking about, and we're going to get to Truckers for Troops here in just a moment. But let's talk about VCP, the Veterans Community Project, because this is a relatively new relationship between OOIDA and this organization, which is doing incredible things, as you said, throughout the country. They're expanding every year to more and more locations. But essentially, this is a place for veterans who have fallen on some hard times
Mhm.
to help them get back on their feet. And pretty much from the ground level, they are helping them basically with anything and everything they might need. Talk a little bit about VCP and just what a great organization it is and what they're doing.
Sure. So I think that one thing that might be helpful to understand about Veterans Community Project is that they have kind of a two-pronged approach. They do have what are called the tiny houses on a campus on their locations where they do have the ability to house residents there. But they also have a lot of other services for all veterans. And that's something that they make it real clear that they can provide services to any veteran regardless of the status of their discharge. And that's an important point to understand because the Veterans Administration, which also does a lot of great things, they are beholden to certain terms and criteria for the help that they can
A
provide.
lot of red tape.
A lot of red
Yeah.
tape and a lot of things like that. The Veterans Community Project is because it's its own nonprofit, completely separate. They are not beholden to those things, and so they can provide services to anyone that has taken the oath of military service, and that might mean just help finding a job.
Yeah.
It might be help finding mental health services. It could be all kinds of different things.
Dental services,
Yeah, all
veterinary care for the pets. The
there
list goes on and on.
There are so many unmet needs for veterans, and trust me, I've done my own research trying to figure out if there's like one singular unmet need, and there isn't really one thing. There probably being unhoused or healthcare is probably the couple of the biggest. But anyway, so they have commissaries, they have events, they have all kinds of things that they can do for any veteran for all kinds of different needs. Now, for the residents that live on the campuses in the tiny houses, that's a little bit separate. It's not very big. They rely upon donations of real estate and construction, and each location kind of has to do their own thing within those communities to get those kinds of donations. But what we have done is we come along and we say, hey, are there some gaps that we can fill for any of this? And we give a combination of a monetary donation as well as the backpacks, which we can get to in a minute because I know
You
you
brought a
wanted.
little show and tell.
I
That's right.
did,
Yep.
yeah, I did bring some show and tell, but we can talk about that when we get into Truckers for Troops a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think it's important and interesting because Truckers for Troops 2007 is when it started. And I think you were around at the beginning there, so you can talk about that too. But this Truckers for Troops fundraising event began at OIDA when we were involved in more, our military was involved in more locations throughout the world. It was primarily, and correct me if I'm wrong here, primarily a care package fundraising event. Money would be donated, and that money would go toward these care packages that would be sent out overseas to our troops overseas for their entire, you know, groups that were with them. It's changed a little bit now, and that the VCP is now part of this mission, and it was folded in because the care packages, we don't have as many, which is a good thing, I think. We don't have as many troops overseas in war zones and dangerous places. So this is kind of bringing another factor into the fold. What was the decision making like for that process and bringing VCP into it?
Sure. Well, basically, like you said, when we launched this in 2007, there was a pretty significant presence, especially in the Middle East. And our members were very interested in finding ways how they can support the military and those serving overseas. And I think it's been said over and over again that a lot of our members are veterans,
Yeah.
and everyone can relate to being a veteran because everyone at least is related to someone who has
Hmm.
served. And so, yes, over the years, the military presence overseas dwindled down a bit, and so care package requests to OOIDA kind of went down a little bit. But at the same time, we know that there's still interest in supporting veterans and military. So it just so happens that Veterans Community Project was founded in Kansas City, which is also where OOIDA is headquartered, and we developed a relationship with them, recognizing that there were some great things that they were doing on their campus and their commissary and the events that they do. And we decided to start funneling some of the funds that we raise and also items, actual items that we either get donated to or we go ahead and purchase based upon the needs that they have expressed to us that they have. For example, the tiny houses, they rotate out the furniture and appliances each time a new resident moves in and
They get to
out.
take them
Yeah.
with all that stuff with
And
them when
so
they move
one
out.
of my
Yeah.
favorite things was to make sure that, they have new recliners.
Yeah.
That's because they don't have these tiny houses don't have room for, like, couches and, coffee tables and things like that.
Sure.
They have a bed and a small table for eating and usually a recliner for watching TV and relaxing and that kinda thing. So that's one of my favorite things that we've donated.
Yeah. But again, when you went to Longmont, Colorado, I guess few weeks ago, you did take a check. I think it was
That's
$10,000.
right.
So that money is going directly to veterans, again,
Yep.
veterans who are in need of a little bit of help. And then you've got the backpacks as well that you're taking. I know the backpacks are a huge hit among people who go through VCP. Talk a little bit about this because these aren't just like thrown together. There's a lot of thought that's put into them.
Yes. So a few years ago, when I was talking to the Kansas City located VCP, I was trying to come up with a way to kind of give a shortcut of the work that they do. They have all kinds of food in the pantries and supplies. And I noticed that they give out backpacks um, for a couple of reasons. So, unhoused people do rely on backpacks for transporting their personal items
Hmm.
wherever they go. And also, it's kind of an icebreaker for the VCP. It's something that they can give to a veteran that is seeking help, that might be hesitant in approaching. There's a lot of things that they're dealing with people, different ranges of needs for mental help or other things. And so a backpack is also an icebreaker for them, and it's even better if it's filled with some supplies. And so for Kansas City and a few other locations that we've worked with, like St. Louis and South Dakota, I would include hygiene kits. That was a requested item that we did for those locations. Longmont was a little bit different,
Hmm.
but I can talk about that as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay,
How was it
so
different?
Longmont was also very interested in backpacks
Yeah.
that they can use to give out to clients that visit for all kinds of different needs. But up there in Colorado, they requested a couple of interesting different things. Not surprising, they did ask for a version of a backpack kit with winter items.
Makes sense, yeah.
And
Gets cold
so
in Colorado.
yeah, and they were very specific in the things that they asked for, and fortunately, I found a way to purchase those items, which would be a blanket and gloves and hats, hand warmers, and lip balm, and a couple of other small items that would make a winter kit. But they also asked to have what they call I'll call it a go find a job or back to work kit that
Hmm,
would have folders and spiral notebook and pens and breath mints and inspiration cards, like little business size cards that have inspirational messages like, you can do it,
nice,
you're keep
affirmations
yeah,
and things like
affirmation
that,
and things
yeah.
like that. And I apologize, I don't have either of those versions with
Sure,
me because when I dropped them off, I gave everything that I had, even what
yeah,
I usually I keep back a sample, but I was like, you know what, they need all of it. I gave it all to them. I do
yeah,
have my hygiene kit sample with me and a backpack uh, sample with me, and all of these things have been photographed and, documented, and we have it on landline and all that kind of stuff. But
sure.
but basically, I just thought it was interesting that they had very specific needs, and we were able to fulfill them.
And that's the beauty of it, though, with the relationship between OIDA and the Veterans Community Project now is that you can have that communication. They knew that you were coming
Mhm.
with a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
that was purchased again by donations
Yep.
from truck drivers, the
Yep.
truck driving community.
That's right.
The reaction I imagine when you go to these places, and I know you've been to, obviously, we've been to the Kansas City location, which is just down the road here. You've been to the South Dakota location,
That's right.
obviously, been to the Colorado location. I'm not sure which other ones you've been to, but the reception when you go to them bearing literally bearing gifts and bearing a check, they've gotta be just so thankful to, again, not just OIDA, and it really isn't OIDA, even though OIDA is putting this all together. It's the people behind it. It's the truck drivers. It's the family of truck drivers who are donating money. They must be so thankful to the organization and to all those people that are contributing there.
That's right. So the other location was St.
St.
Louis.
Louis, okay.
Yeah.
I know they have so many now that are kinda popping up, right?
Well, they are slowly growing. They
Right,
they have plans to pop up in Wisconsin and Oklahoma,
right.
and my understanding is the next one that I think we could see things happening would be Glendale, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
But I would hold them. I'd talk to VCP to find out when that'll
Sure,
happen. But
sure.
anyway, yeah, we've been to St. Louis and Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and obviously Kansas City. And yes, we bring. Uh, Truckload of stuff, the monetary donation and the backpacks as well.
Yeah. What is the reaction? And I know you speak to a number of people when you go to these locations, but what do you hear from them? What do you learn from them about the situation that veterans are facing? Again, they're doing such great work there to make sure there's a support system in place in these places where these VCP locations are. Um, but it's a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work to make sure that veterans are fully taken care of.
That's right, and, well, what we've learned is that the staff is so dedicated. The staff at all of these locations are so dedicated. Some of them are veterans themselves. Most of them are veterans themselves, and they work very hard. They work, with a lot of dedication to the cause, and some of the locations, we'll go and we'll visit, and I think that you guys, with Landline have been able to interview a couple of people, I
Yeah, yeah,
think.
we've talked to a few. Yeah,
And this time at Longmont, it was interesting. At the other locations, they don't the residents don't necessarily, come out of their houses and talk to us. It is a private
sure. Yeah,
situation, and
understandably.
but at Longmont, we did have 2 residents come out and visit with us, and, one of them shared that he had been a truck driver at one time in his life, and the other person, shared a gift with me personally. Um, the location of Longmont is not as urban as the other locations. You know,
Hmm.
the locate even in Sioux Falls, it is a little bit of more of an urban area
Sure.
where they're located. But Longmont is a little bit on the outskirts there. So this particular resident goes hiking on a regular basis, and he had brought back a branch. And I apologize, I don't know what tree this came from. I'm showing Scott what he had brought back, and he had carved out a walking stick
Oh, that's
that he
nice.
presented to me as a gift while I was visiting. And I thought that was very, very kind and very generous.
Absolutely. As a yeah, a sign of appreciation
Yeah.
for being there and doing all you do. You know, this is the idea behind Truckers for Troops and has been from the beginning. Um, it's a yearly, actually, I guess it's 2 times a year now.
Hmm.
But the big time, the big event is coming up November 10th, the week of November 10th.
Hmm.
For those not familiar, this is a fundraising campaign for again 100% of the donations that come in go right back to either veterans through the VCP or to care packages. The care packages are still a thing,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So people that week, and they're going to hear a lot more about this in the weeks to come, but this is an opportunity for people to essentially say thank you to our men and women serving overseas and to the veterans who are here now. Being a part of this event from the beginning, Narita, this is, I imagine, something that you feel quite a bit of pride about.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think that all of us should feel proud for what we've done and our members for their generosity and how we found ways to make sure that their generosity and their support for those that serve can be channeled in interesting and creative and very, very effective ways. When we do care packages, we do them ourselves here. We don't outsource anything, and when it comes to delivering these goods, we take it ourselves and we make sure it gets there ourselves.
Yeah, and this year, really no different. It's gonna be the same thing, and I think over the past, what has it been now? 19 years, 18 years? I can't do math very well. Almost 20 years
There
now.
you go.
It's what's the total up to?
$800,000,
$800,000.
yeah, has been raised. That's right.
And again, going directly to care packages and veterans at VCP over the past several years.
That's right.
What have you learned over the past almost 20 years doing this? And maybe this is a leading question because I have my own thoughts about this, but about the truck driving community, truckers out there and their generosity. What have you kind of learned and taken away over the past, again, 18, whatever years it's
Hmm.
been,
Hmm.
about the people that we are talking to right now?
Sure. So I think I've learned that their interest doesn't wane. Their interest is always there. They always wanna express their support. They always have their own stories to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they always have their own experiences to share from having served or if a family member has served. So there's always connections is probably the biggest thing that I've learned.
Yeah. So we're looking ahead here. November 10th through the 16th is
Mhm.
the upcoming Truckers for Troops event. Um, what can you tell people about out there, out in the world, about what to look out
Sure.
for or be kind of considering here in the weeks to come?
Sure. So basically what'll happen is that the week of Veterans Day, the week of November 10th to the 16th, we will have a discount for joining. And that then we'll also take 10% and match towards the Truckers for Troops funds that go towards care packages and or VCP.
And this is one of these situations we know very well because we talk about it pretty often on the show and elsewhere. Rates are not great right now.
Mhm.
We know that the situation out there for a lot of people is not great. However, this is not a situation where you're gonna call and you're gonna feel obliged to drop $100 or
No. No,
$200.
no, no.
It could be $1, it could be $5, whatever it is in terms of donations, it's all gonna be welcome.
Or just simply join.
Yeah,
You need to renew, you need to join. Everybody needs to still be joining. It's gonna be discounted to $35. So, re-up your membership. That's the best thing that you can do.
yeah, if you're gonna do it, that would be the week to do it.
Yeah,
Hold off until November 10th,
that's right.
if you can. Narita, what did we forget? Anything about Truckers for
Um,
Troops, VCP, care packages,
um
walking sticks, backpacks? Anything else?
I think that's it, Scott.
All right. Well, there it is. Narita Taylor, We appreciate your time. We will talk to you again
Yep.
as we approach Truckers for Troops in November. But until then, we're going to take a break. Trucking with OOIDA continues right after this.